If you're a Python developer who's ever touched the Telegram API, you've probably noticed something, well, big just happened. One of the libraries that so many of us rely on just went through a massive shakeup. And today, we're going to break down exactly what this means for you, and more importantly, for your code. Okay, so let's just get right to it. The news that sent a little shockwave through the developer community? Telethon, the go-to library for countless user bots and tools, suddenly got archived on GitHub. Just poof, gone. No more pull requests, no new issues. For a project with over 12,000 stars, this wasn't just a minor update, it was a huge deal. So what in the world happened? Well, this wasn't the end of Telethon, not by a long shot. It was actually a very deliberate move to a brand new home. Let's take a look at how it all went down. And this whole thing happened incredibly fast. I mean, we're talking about a span of just 9 days. That's it. Development on GitHub basically just stopped. The final commit message was as blunt as it gets: migrate off GitHub. This wasn't some slow, drawn-out process. It was a clean break, a signal that a totally new chapter was about to begin. So the project's new base of operations is now Codeberg, which is a nonprofit, community-driven platform. And, this move isn't really happening in a vacuum. It's part of this bigger trend we're seeing where open source projects are looking for a little more independence, moving away from corporate-owned platforms, maybe because they're worried about AI training on their code, or they just want to be on infrastructure that's owned by the community. So why does this move actually matter to you and me? Because it happened at the same time as the release of Telethon V2. And let me tell you, this is so much more than just an update. It's a complete reboot of the entire library's philosophy. And you gotta love the honesty here. The lead developer, Lana Beamy, just put it out there, calling V2 a complete reboot with a no-bullshit theme. This wasn't about tacking on a few new features. This was about tearing down the old codebase, which they admitted had gotten kind of messy, and rebuilding the whole thing from the ground up using all the lessons learned over the years. Okay, so here is the most crucial takeaway. Your V1 code will not work in V2. Period. End of story. And that focus on type safety, that's not just some developer buzzword. For us, it means our IDEs, our code editors, can catch our mistakes as we're typing before we even run the code. It means way fewer of those annoying surprise errors in production. This is an intentional break from the past, designed to build a more stable future by getting rid of years of accumulated bloat. All right, this is where the rubber meets the road for anyone with a telethon project. Your code is going to break. There's really no way around it. So let's dive into some of the biggest breaking changes that you're going to have to wrestle with. This table really shows just how deep these changes go. I mean, think about getEntity. That's a method we all probably used constantly. It's gone. That entire telethon.utils package with all its handy little functions, also gone. And look at the shift from those marked IDs, the -100 prefix for channels, that's been replaced with a proper peer ref object. This means you can't just do a simple find and replace. You have to fundamentally rethink how you're looking up users and handling IDs in your code. Let's look at a real code example, because this makes it super clear. On the left, you've got your classic V1 event handler. The regex pattern is kind of awkwardly stuffed right inside the new message constructor. Now look at the V2 version on the right. See how the filter is pulled out into its own separate argument? It's just cleaner, way more readable, and it lets you stack multiple filters together so easily. It's a much more logical way to do things, but it means every single one of your event handlers needs to be rewritten. Oh, and don't miss that little change from event.respond to event.reply. That'll getcha. But hey, it's not all about taking things away. V2 brings some fantastic new features to the table, and the error factory is a perfect example. See, in V1, if Telegram introduced a new error type on their end, your code would break, and you'd have to wait for a telethon update to even handle it properly. Now the library can actually generate those new error classes on the fly. This is a huge, huge win for anyone running a production bot, making them so much more reliable. Okay, so we've covered the what and the why. We know the library moved, and we know V2 is a total rewrite. Now we get to the most important part. What should you actually do about all this? This is the million-dollar question, right? Migrating is a ton of work, so should you just drop everything and jump on it right now? Well, the honest answer is it really depends on your project. So let's walk through a super simple decision process. First, just take a look at your project. If you've got a stable app running on V1 that's already in production, don't panic. The key here is to plan, not to rush. Start auditing your code. Figure out how big of a job this migration is really going to be. But if you're starting a brand new project today, The advice is simple. Just start with V2. You'll save yourself a massive headache later on, and you get all the benefits of the new, cleaner API from day one. So, what's the official story on V1? Well, the developer said it'll still get critical bug fixes and important API layer updates for a while longer. There's no hard end-of-life date set in stone yet, so you have some breathing room. But the message is pretty clear. V1 is basically on life support, and all the exciting new development is happening on V2. The clock is definitely ticking. And finally, while we're on the topic of changes and making our projects more stable, there's one critical thing that hasn't changed one bit: account safety. This comes up in pretty much every discussion about Telethon, and for good reason. And this is so important. These rules apply no matter what. Telegram's anti-spam system does not care if you're using V1, V2, or something else entirely. The risk comes from how you act. Using virtual numbers, hammering the API from a brand new account, or ignoring rate limits, that's the fastest way to get your account banned. You always have to warm up your accounts first. And that kind of brings us to our final thought for today. This migration to V2 is, without a doubt, going to be painful for a lot of people. It's a big investment of time and effort. But when you look at the new focus on stability, on type safety, on a cleaner and more deliberate API design, you just have to ask, is this really difficult reboot exactly what Telefon needed to make sure it has a healthy and maintainable future for years to come? Let me know what you think. Thanks for joining this explainer.